If you clicked on this video, you like one of two things. You either enjoy Iceberg videos like me, or you like Brawlhalla. Either way, thank you for checking this video out. There hasn't been a real Iceberg video for Brawlhalla in a long time, or at least one I would consider to be a real Iceberg video. A lot of them are just long lists of fun facts, so I'm here to fix that. In this Iceberg for Brawlhalla, I'm going to be going over the actual substance stuff that's happened within the game and its community. I'm not going to be going over corny 2016 memes that have no value. With that being said though, I do need to warn you guys. This video goes over some pretty mature subjects, and what's listed on the screen right now are some of the stuff I go over in great detail. So, if you feel uncomfortable or don't like any of these things being talked about, please feel free to click off. It's not going to hurt my feelings. And one last thing. This video does not define Brawlhalla. I'm not gonna lie, we talk about some pretty negative and unfortunate things in here, but this is just a small speck on the grand scale. I have met the most amazing people through this game and created some of the most fond memories in my entire life just playing this game. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Anyways, kick back, relax, and grab your favorite snacks, and enjoy. Sandstorm is the GOAT. This just refers to the widespread belief that Sandstorm the pro player is the best player to have ever touched Brawlhalla. He's basically the Wayne Gretzky of it. And to highlight some of his accolades is he's held #1 in power rankings in North America for 3 years straight. He's won 3 world championships. He has more tourney wins than anyone else in NA, and is the first person in Brawlhalla history to hit 3,000 elo in ranked 1v1s. He's also the first person to hit $200,000 in earnings just by playing Brawlhalla. And if you don't know, he's the main reason Fenrir Mordex and Mordex just in general are used so much, because that combo and that legend were used by him in his prime all of the time. YouTube tutorials. Now, I can't tell if this is a positive or negative connotation here, and I'm just going to assume it's negative, but this just refers to the abundant amount of YouTube tutorials there are on YouTube for Brawlhalla that are made specifically for players seeking help or bad players in general. This game is free to play, so there are more players that are just trying to actually learn fighting games like as a whole because it's free, and with that, they're generationally bad at the game. And that is why there's so many tutorials on YouTube, and what's funny enough is I've actually made a couple. BCX. BCX is the biggest Brawlhalla held tournament that comes year round, where the best pro players from all around the world come to play each other for the biggest prize pool of the year. This is basically the Super Bowl for Brawlhalla, and it's where the greatest talents come out and they play each other for the biggest prizes. It's extremely fun watching, even when you're at home watching on, Twitch or something like that, but going to is extremely fun. I'm debating going this year, but if you do want to know the details of it, it's from November 21st to November 23rd, and it's in Atlanta, Georgia at the Gateway Center Arena. If you do want to go to it, I highly suggest checking it out on Brawlhalla's website. They have a tab for BCX, and yeah, go enjoy it. There's a bunch of fun people there. A lot of the devs go, a bunch of pro players and people in the scene hang out there, and it's just a good experience overall. Sig spamming. This is undoubtedly one of the most complained about things in the entire course of Brawlhalla's history, and it's just a playstyle adopted by typically plat and below players who spam the same signature moves over and over and over again just to win games. Games are extremely short, it's only 3 stocks, and if you can't adapt to someone spamming the same move over and over again, you just lose. And Sigs do a lot of damage, they have a huge range, and they do a lot of knockback. So if you can't, adapt to something like that, you lose in one of the more, frustrating ways of the game. Old Brawlhalla. I think this just refers to older versions of Brawlhalla where it almost looks uncanny and absolutely nothing like we have today. And stuff like characters having every weapon in the game, like Lord Vrax having a sword, and then some characters that we know now look absolutely nothing like they did back then. I'm talking about Hugh Cassidy existed, and it's just a weird, type of thing to look back on because it doesn't even look remotely close to what we have today. Also, signatures didn't exist back then, and to be honest, might need to bring that back for some of you. I'm not gonna lie. Thea is F tier. This refers to the widespread opinion that Thea is the worst character in the game. Now, maybe you're thinking, oh, why is she the worst character in the game? Let's look at the weapons. Lance, really bad. I would say not even close to mediocre. I think it's genuinely bad. And boots are mediocre at best. I think they're all right, but they're not as good as something like gauntlets or sword right now. It's just not possible. And maybe you're thinking, oh, the stats might be okay. No, the stats are probably worse than the weapon combo. High dex is basically useless, and high speed is alright at best. The main two stats a lot of people look at are strength and defense. Can they take a hit, and can they deal out hits? And Thea can't do either. So that's why she's known and widely known as one of the worst characters in the game. Brawlhalla fan art. This is sort of the light side of the artistic talent in the community. These pictures and everything drawn and made by the community is genuinely really well made, and it's really good. And a lot of it's even displayed on their Twitch streams and on their social medias by the actual Brawlhalla team and the social media team. But later on in the iceberg, we're gonna get into some stuff I would say is the dark side of the fan art. But this is just referring to the light side, the good stuff that people make. Hard stuck. Now, this is a term everywhere in the gaming industry and every other pocket and community of the world, but for Brawlhalla, this is a term used by a majority of the community to describe when someone is the same rank season after season. So you say you place gold one season and you play 100 matches or 200 matches, and you do this 3 or 4 seasons in a row and you don't leave gold, whether you go up or go down, you're hard stuck. Now, normally this is an insult, and it's used to degrade people, but, everyone kind of uses it for whatever. It's mostly a joke now, but it also just refers to just losing and winning and losing and winning, which is a very common thing in fighting games. Game chat. Now, this one has a little bit of history to it, so let me explain. This is a component in the game where players can communicate to each other only in custom lobbies right now. Now, before that, it was after every single game. You didn't have to invite someone to a custom lobby to chat with them on PC. You could just instantly type right after the game. They'd get a little notification on the bottom right, and they can see if you said something. That was taken out of the game because a lot of people, fighting games are pretty toxic. They're pretty aggressive. A lot of people were using it to be very rude and very mean and very toxic. So they took it out and only added it to custom lobbies. This is, I think, the only reason it's even in custom lobbies is because you can queue for specific game modes using matchmaking through custom lobbies, and you might need to communicate with the other team you're about to queue up with, like if it's a crew battle or something like that. So that's the only reason it's in the game. Emojis and everything like that actually replaced game chat when it got removed. So I guess another reason is so they can make money because you can buy emojis. I don't really know, but yeah, no, it was just taken out because it was extremely toxic, and I loved it because I think a lot of games lose their fire and lose their oomph when people can't communicate with each other or can't banter. That kind of drives the competitive scale of the game up. It's a fighting game. That's literally the whole basis of the genre, but I digress. Foda. Foda is essentially the spokesperson for Brawlhalla, the big head figure. He's the design lead for Brawlhalla, if you guys didn't know. And he's just a pretty cool dude. He's in a lot of the Twitch streams, giving out announcements, talking to chat, communicating with us, and he's really tapped in with the community. He's very active on Twitter. If you guys don't have him on Twitter, I suggest following him there. You can ask him questions about the game. He most likely will answer. He's a very busy guy though, so probably not all the times, but he's very tapped in with the community. And he used to do esports casting for the game, which is actually pretty interesting. He used to commentate a lot, and I miss that kind of side of him. I wish he did a little bit more, but he's a pretty busy guy. But that's really all. Foda's pretty cool. Rank distributions. This refers to the huge distinct gap of rank distribution of where people are placed after their placements and after a season's worth of games played. The data that I've shown even before this entry and now shows that there is a mass of players in silver and gold. You could assume just by off of this that more than likely the person you're talking to that you don't know they're ranked, that they're actually silver or gold, which is pretty sad, right? And I don't mean that in a mean way. I mean that there's a lot of people who are just not getting better at the game because there's not really a room to improve naturally in this game, which is why rank distribution is such an issue. There is a lack of diamond players. There's obviously a lack of Valhallan players, but all those spots eventually get filled, right? After your 100 games in diamond. But for silver and gold, there are way too many people there. There are quite a bit of plat players, but definitely nothing compared to silver and gold, and that's why it's here. Community tournaments. This is talking about all the tournaments held by the community rather than Brawlhalla, so these aren't officially hosted or officially licensed by Brawlhalla. They're held by the community and funded by the community, which is a change. And unlike Nintendo, Brawlhalla actually allows these tournaments to go on and allows them to have their own sponsors and be funded and monetized by themselves, rather than, you know, someone like Nintendo coming in and sending a lawsuit or a strike their way for trying to get money off of their game. Some tournaments to mention are Brawl League, Bearded Brawls, Moose Wars, just stuff like that. Frostbite, they're just really cool tournaments held by the community that keep the esports scene up and afloat when there isn't a major tourney like Autumn or Spring Royale or BCX going on. Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla is probably the most useful tracker in Brawlhalla right now. It allows you to see the top of the top every season and shows really in-depth stats and basically lets you just stat watch the leaderboards and watch them fluctuate every day. You can see win-losses, elos, win rates, and just their names and who they're playing. It's just really useful, and a lot of people use it in the pro scene. MVS. Multiverses was the only real and possible competitor for Brawlhalla on the free platform fighter market. Nothing else really compared to Brawlhalla at the time, and now currently, because Brawlhalla is free and everything else costs money, so there's no real commitment to Brawlhalla that you have to make to get it. And Multiverses was one of the same. It was also free to play. The thing with Multiverses though is that it was backed by Warner Brothers, so it had a lot more reliable IP to pull from, and basically had every single thing going for it, but unfortunately fell off and died. They actually shut down the servers, which I say unfortunately for, because I used to make, you know, Multiverses content. But it was really scary at the time because it was ramping up to be the real overthrower of Brawlhalla. But just unfortunately the devs didn't really listen to the community, you know, too often, and it just sort of fell off. They didn't take care of the game and just didn't listen to balance changes, and overall Brawlhalla snuck out the win, and that was really it. Multiverses had the chance to force Brawlhalla to actually improve on the stuff that they say they're going to improve on but don't do for years. It was supposed to be the fire that was going to light Brawlhalla's ass and continue to make the game better, because now that there's someone competing for their title, but unfortunately, again, it drowned out and actually just shut down. Old White / Black. This just refers to the colors white and black we have in the game for your characters and how they used to look different back then. Old Black had basically no red in it at all, and in my opinion actually looked a lot better than it does now. And white back then kind of had a more pasty and looked almost like a cream instead of the actual paper white and gray we have now. I honestly prefer the modern white because of the old one, but you know, that's just my opinion. Mammoth coin inflation. Now this could refer to a couple of things as well, but by my judgment, this is just referring to the game's international prices changing about a year ago to adjust to the actual value of the coin in-game via items. The US prices jumped, everyone's prices jumped, and a lot of people blame the battle passes for this because they wanted to make the battle passes seem more worth, and by doing so they increased the price of the mammoth coins. So when you buy an item with the mammoth coins, you have to spend more money to buy that item with the mammoth coins to make it feel like that item was worth more because you spent more mammoth coins on it. But there's a bunch of other theories that people think about. A lot of people think mammoth coin inflation also refers to how we had 300 coin crossovers to then 400, in some cases even 500, which I think is really ridiculous. And even weapon skins that are epic, that are 140, that are the like that's the price of a legend, and they're charging it for a weapon skin. I don't know. I can't get behind it, but yeah, that's just what this entry's for. Old Diamond. Old Diamond is just referring to how impossible it was back then to get 2400, and how 2400 was essentially a 3000 nowadays. The inflation of ELO has definitely stood the testament of time, and it has kind of increased over the years, but Diamond back then was extremely hard to get through. You could get +0, +1. If you were lucky, it was +2 when playing matches, and even if you were getting matches, because the queue times were so god awful, you would be waiting for more than you were actually playing if you sat down for a session of Brawlhalla. And this is just referring to how difficult it was to play in Diamond back then compared to how easy it is now. PC buff. This kind of refers to two different things, but I'm just going to go over both of them anyway because we have the time. PC buff basically just refers to a lot of the people on PC having a better gaming experience overall with smoother Brawlhallas because we have access to more frames, which equals less input delay compared to someone who's playing on console who's locked at 60 FPS or 120 FPS. This could also mean the explanation for a jump or dive of skill when transferring to PC from console. So when someone transfers from console to PC, they're more than likely going to get better, but that's not always the case. Some of them actually do worse because the scene is a lot more competitive over on PC than it is on console. A lot of people have actually abandoned console over the years and jumped just straight to PC because that's where the whole scene lives at. GS on launch. Greatsword on launch was the game's most broken weapon ever in its history. There was not a legend or weapon in any state of this game that was as broken as Greatsword when it came out. The finals of when Greatsword came out had everyone using this weapon, and it was dominating every single matchup and winning fights that it honestly shouldn't have. Following the big rise of Greatsword came the low of Greatsword. It got the biggest nerf in the game's history ever in a single patch. They tuned down absolutely everything and they gutted it completely, and it turned back to just being a mid-tier weapon. Old pros versus new pros. This is just referring to the type of social norms we have in the pro scene nowadays. Old pros now are pretty much Hollywood or hermits. These guys don't really do much. They are still relevant in the scene somewhat, but are getting drowned out more and more each year. We get new people in the scene. These guys don't really have much to prove because they've already proved it before, so they don't have to be super flashy. And the new guys are really hungry to win. They don't do a lot of PR or really anything related to, I guess, being social. And I see a lot of them on Twitter or a lot of them in social spaces be actually really rude. No offense or anything or shots to any of these guys, but the new guys just really don't have the class or the respect that the old guys get, and I assume that's why they're the way they are. Brawlhalla montage. I think this just refers to the montage scene back in the day that was really crazy and pulled a bunch of views in for the game, especially when it wasn't that big. There was clans coming together to make huge montages, a bunch of pros came together to make them as well, and getting the best editors they could and releasing these absolute masterpiece videos that came out, 8, 9, 10 years ago. If you haven't seen any, please go search it up on YouTube. Just type in Brawlhalla montage and you'll find a bunch of hidden gems. I think they're really incredible, and I think the community should try to revive this scene because, to be honest, these are absolutely insane, even for right now when the game has changed so much. Darwin on Xbox. Now, this entry is actually pretty short in all reality, but I need to give some context because it answers a question the community asks quite a bit. Darwin on Xbox was an Xbox player who is extremely good at Brawlhalla. Now, that doesn't sound too uncommon because a lot of people are good at Brawlhalla, but Darwin was extraordinarily good at Brawlhalla. He was so good, in fact, that playing just on Xbox and playing against people and training through Xbox matches, he actually made third at an Autumn's Royale. And he was competing against PC players who have less input delay, more customization, and just better overall Brawlhalla experience because they have a larger pool of people to practice with. Darwin is living proof that you can compete while playing on a console. And I see this question a lot by, everywhere. The Reddit, Discord, doesn't matter. Oh, I play on Xbox. Oh, I play on PS4. Will I ever be able to compete with someone on PC? Can I make it pro? Darwin is living proof of this. Darwin is the David and Goliath story of Brawlhalla, and he's an extremely important figure that some people need to tip their cap to in the community because they don't know about him. And he's here for a reason. Now you know about him. Stalker. This is a legend that was 75% done and in the files of the game at one point that was supposed to have a Katars and Lance combination, but was actually later scrapped into the two legends we have today, Ember and Asuri. Now, we still don't have Katars and Lance combination, and this character does have animations and full renders, so technically Stalker's still on the table for us to get, but of course we don't know that, and we won't know for a long while because Legend 67 actually just got announced as I was writing the script for this video and recording. Code selling. This refers to when all codes through viewership rewards and other means were all infinite, so there was a huge market for items back then on eBay and Etsy, and this was meta devs, weapon skins, legend skins, avatars, colors. It didn't matter. It was on eBay and Etsy, and you could buy whatever you wanted, so as long as you were willing to, cough up the price. And of course, the market determined the price for some things, so something that was, super rare was expensive, and something that was, kind of recent was not. But it was just so really cool. This is the type of community I came up through when playing Brawlhalla, actually. I used to be a code trader with people all the time. I used to do it. I loved it. I was super naive because it was just kind of hearsay, whether you were going to actually, if you were trading, you would just, you send first or I send first, and you kind of just had to believe in the other person. And I never personally got scammed, and I never obviously scammed anyone, but It definitely happened to a lot of people, and with that, they nuked all of the codes now, so all of them are dead. Every old code is dead, essentially, unless you got it through a various means where it had to have stayed infinite. Otherwise, all of them are dead. And all those markets basically they just don't exist. They're all sunken, and right now on eBay and Etsy, you can only get the stuff that is the most recent through viewership rewards. Some rare stuff kind of sits on there, but I don't really know if it's too legit, so I wouldn't risk buying it. But yeah, you can basically just buy the stuff that's been in viewership rewards on Twitch in case you missed those. If you want to buy or pick up anything like that for extra accounts, that's on eBay and Etsy. But other than that, yeah, code selling just basically just doesn't exist anymore. Q sniping. This is not just a Brawlhalla thing. This thing lives in every other corner of the internet and on basically every other video game. But for Brawlhalla, this is mainly used against streamers in the scene, especially in ranked. And people just go into their streams, wait for them to queue with them at a similar elo, and basically just hope to match against them to act a fool in game, by spamming, SIGs or taunting, just to try to rage bait the streamer for a clip and just try to, piss them off as much as they can, because, I don't know, people are degenerates and they have a lot of time on their hands. But that's essentially all Q sniping is. Double GC. Double GC stands for double gravity cancel, and half a decade ago there was a tech in the game that allowed you to double gravity cancel to do some pretty neat tricks in the game. This was really good with Sword and Scythe back then, but was actually later removed in the game for balancing issues and hopefully never returns, because I'm going to show some footage on the screen that looks absolutely insane, and if the people we have today could do stuff like this, I probably wouldn't be good enough to stay in Diamond anymore. Old tournament maps. Old tournament maps just refers to the fact that old tournament maps back then were extremely huge and are basically our 2v2 maps now for 1v1s. Back then, if you look at any pro scene footage, they're just absolutely disgusting. The amount of camping you could get away with, and the amount of passive play that you could get away with back then, and I know now looks pretty bad with how passive people play, but back then it was way, 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 way worse. And it's just really crazy to see the dynamic change. Nowadays, we kind of stick to the same formula where it's the one singular stage that's a long, rectangle square shape, and maybe a limit of 3 platforms on the stage and 1 moving. Yeah, that's not even remotely close to how it used to be. The old maps back then are just awful, absolutely awful. R34. Now, I shouldn't have to say anything about this, because if you've been on the internet for more than like 3 years, you know exactly what this is. This is a website on the internet where you can go look at of basically every single character from any single media that has ever existed ever. Their entire, lingo is that if there's a media or if it exists, there's blank of it. I'm not gonna say the word because I don't want to blur it out, less work for me. But with Brawlhalla being a media and a video game, this of course exists on there, and unfortunately, I don't even know if I should say unfortunately, I wish this never existed at all, but because there are extremely weird and unsettling people out there that are unhinged, they make some really, really, really disturbing images out of the characters we know and love in the game on this website. And it goes into a bunch of categories I can't publicly discuss on YouTube or I will get banned, but just trust me when I say this, do not go and look for yourself. If you are under the age of 18, please just ignore this entry altogether. And yeah, it's really all I have to say for this one. Custom maps. This is still in the game, but it just refers to people making custom map skins of the existing template maps we have now in the game. Every map that's organically in the game is considered a template map and can be altered and changed via the files of the game. Before, blurring the background was in the game, like for everyone to do. You actually had to go into the files and go change it directly by using a custom map background. I did this back then because this was the only way to do it. And you'd have to go to certain links on the internet to get these images and get these files to replace the textures and the arts and backgrounds of the maps we have now. A lot of them are on Discord, but a lot of them are just out there on the internet. I'm sure you can easily find it. I can't personally advocate for this because it goes against TOS, but it is really easy to do, and it makes the game feel fresh if you're ever feeling a little bland about playing Brawlhalla. Pay to win crossovers. This is a huge can of worms and a pretty controversial topic in the community, with a lot of people agreeing and disagreeing upon this topic. There are a bunch of crossover skins in the game that can change the normal legend's sound cues and animations of the SIG just to match the theme for the crossover. And with that, you lose the familiarity of the legend you were used to playing against, making the matchup seem confusing. Ryu from Street Fighter is not even close to Petra from Brawlhalla, but they're the same character, because Ryu is a crossover of Petra. Some people often cry and complain that it is not fair and that some animations aren't as telling as the base characters are, which I 100% agree with. I think that is extremely, extremely true, and I'm going to show examples on the screen now. Now, the people complaining about sound audio, I can't really get behind. I don't play with audio basically at all, and I'm Diamond. So I promise that's not really the best excuse to make. Now, maybe if you're a pro and, maybe the sound is that important to you in a fighting game, maybe I would agree with you then, but that's like the 0.001%, so I don't really know at that point. And a lot of people in the game, the big fix that a lot of people are screaming for is an option to toggle them off. And that makes sense, right? Until you're the company collabing with Brawlhalla, then it doesn't make sense. If people can just turn off your essential, monetized ad for free, why even waste money partnering with Brawlhalla at all? If people can just turn off your ad for free. Also, why buy the skin at all if not everyone is going to see it? So you would lose money if you are the person investing in Brawlhalla for the partnered crossover. Brawlhalla loses money because no one's buying the skin at all, because why would you if everyone just has it toggled off? And it's just a lose-lose. Us? This is referring to the entire Australian scene getting themselves banned. They basically had an entire drama war that unfolded where they all just started canceling each other, calling each other out, posting each other, saying this, and that, and it got all of them banned because, believe it or not, they were all doing stuff that was just bigoted, that was just dumb, degenerate, just dense, dense-headed stuff. There are no more regional competitions for Australia, extreme, high-level ones, because there's no more competitors, because they all have been banned by Brawlhalla. There's no reason to compete in this region anymore because there's no real competition. I would compare Australia to Japan almost, with how sorry they are. I know it's a crazy shot to say, but they're just, it's not competitive over there anymore, and it kind of all started out with a person named Osmadi. I don't know if that's how you say their name. Osmoody, like a smoothie? I don't know. Who just reported basically the entire top ranking, the entire top Australian scene, all of them, for accusations like racism, homophobia, xenophobia, just extreme dense-headed behavior. Of course, with screenshots and whatnot to back it up. They got them all canned, all of them canned, and then self-snitched in the process. And they were also, I believe, racist and homophobic, or not homophobic, racist and whatever and whatnot. So then they got themselves canned, which basically just wrote the entire Australian scene just got turned into a pack overnight. I don't know what happened here. It's like they all just pointed the gun on themselves and pulled the trigger. I don't know what these guys are doing. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing stuff that would get you in trouble and saying stupid, ignorant stuff like that anyway. But snitching on yourself, and while also you're just asking for what are you doing? But yeah, that's why Brawlhalla has never hosted a big tourney for them, because the entire scene just offed itself. 3,000 elo. This refers to the highest threshold of elo we have seen in Brawlhalla's peak so far. There has not been anyone in the 4K elo range, so this is our current ceiling and now guarantees Valhallan for anyone near this. Wins in this elo are +1, +2, and +0, essentially meaning it is almost not worth it at all for the amount of games you have to play just to get this far, and the amount of wait times you have to go through just to get at this elo. Autumn Scythe. This refers to one of the rarest weapon skins in the game, and also not to be confused with the new gen version called Harvest Sickle, which came out in 2021 and is still available to get in the game today. This is just a skin that looks extremely cool and was for a very limited amount of time. This originally was a 2018 autumn, esports pack, and it came out a long time ago. And then after that, it was shortly converted into a viewership reward. But ever since then, it has never been brought back, and a lot of people really enjoy it because this is an insanely cool skin. And when we got the new one we have now, Harvest Sickle, it kind of looks like it, but obviously there's easy differences you could spot. I showed an image a second ago, and it's just not as cool, I guess, or not as rare as the one that completely stopped coming out post 2018. Money matches, also known as wagers and sometimes even bets, are not just a Brawlhalla thing. This is in almost every other gaming sphere that we have today, but money matches are extremely important to fighting games. Money matches have been in fighting games forever and have been a huge satisfier for the competitive hunger that these games require. It is not just enough for you to lose or gain a digital number on your screen. It means more if you're putting hard-earned cash to your mouth and to your skills and try to win bigger amounts by playing the game for it. Money matches are sets or single games you play for a set amount of money that both people agree to before the match starts. Winner takes all, normally. Obviously, there's other ways that money matches and wagers have been set up, but that is the most notable and the most normal one that I've seen. If you want to find these money matches, you can just go on YouTube and just Google in general and type in Brawlhalla money matches. A bunch of them will show up. I'm pretty sure almost every pro and content creator has done some at one point. The only notable one I would say is Dark Ghoul. He would stream these and basically host them to a bunch of people and give the audience something to watch, which was a money match. He'd have people coming in. Oh, do you want a money match on stream? Oh, okay. Here's an audience to watch you guys do it. Let's raise the stakes even further. Now you have a live audience watching you guys. Paid coaching. This draws back to another entry I did earlier called code selling, but this is just another thing you can buy in the community outside of Brawlhalla that relates to Brawlhalla in some sort of way. Paid coaching is essentially you paying someone who's better at the game than you, like a pro player, more realistically it's a pro player, or someone who's high elo and low profile, for them to teach you how to play the game. Now, on a more specific level, they do this because Brawlhalla doesn't make you enough money to keep the lights on. You got to be realistic. If you aren't consistent enough, you aren't keeping the lights on. And so paid coaching is the way to keep the lights on. It makes money. People will pay a high premium to hop on a Discord call with a pro and learn the game on an extreme level for many reasons. And I think it's a lot to do with parasocial norms. Oh, it's a pro player, I want to meet them, da 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 da. But I also think it's kind of predatory because this is extremely harmful to the consumer, because some of the rates I've seen are absolutely ridiculous. I'm not trying to throw shots or anything out there, but one that I can just use as an example because I know it off the top of my head. Markimu charges over $200 for 5 hours in a call with him. Yeah, $200 just to learn how to play Brawlhalla, right? And I'm not trying to dunk on Markimu or anything like that, or anyone who does this, but there are better ways to get good at the game. I promise you, there are ways that are free to get good at the game, but a lot of people just try to take the easy route and get coached because these guys know what they're talking about. I guess I don't really know. I think it's kind of silly. Drip impacts gameplay. Now, this is exactly what it means. This is just a common notion and saying in the community that if you look good, you play good, which is something I personally believe in extremely heavily. Now, there are way too many cosmetics in this game and choices for you to make, for you to not engage with it at all, and I just think it's crazy that some people run default because the skins in this game are really, really well made, in my opinion. This also refers to a lot of people in money matches who have certain setups and certain just type of character looks they like running that make them play better. People have like a try-hard skin. That's a thing common in like Fortnite, but it's also a thing in Brawlhalla. I see it all the time. I see it on Twitter a bunch, but some people have like try-hard setups, and that's just kind of like it's kind of cringe, but it's really a mental thing. It's just a mental barrier people can push through just by switching their color palette and changing their skin on their character to make them play better, and it works. It literally just works. Brawlhalla diss tracks. No, it's not 2016 and Ricegum is not relevant, but this was a phase in the Brawlhalla community that we unfortunately had to endure a long time ago. Thank God I wasn't around for this, but yeah, there's a bunch of diss tracks on YouTube and on SoundCloud you can find of people making them on the game. This is probably the cringiest thing I've ever had to witness, and unfortunately some pros have made one. If you want to go check out Costelix's video, where he makes a diss track, over Lance, I really advise you don't, because I want to save your ears from bleeding, but it's a thing that exists, and unfortunately it's a part of the history of our community, and it's just a thing that happens. These were so big at some point in time that even the devs were starting to notice these and listen to them. Now, I don't really know their opinions on them. Probably not too good, probably not too positive, because mine now is that it's negative, and I couldn't imagine the devs looking at it in just pure disgust. But yeah, it's definitely a thing that we have to look back on because it unfortunately happened. Console fell off. Back in the day, 2700 elo players actually existed on console, PlayStation and Xbox respectively. Now the cap is 2400, 2500. No one is really getting up to how high they were back then because a lot of those guys actually shifted to PC. The more upsides people realize that when they're playing console, the upside of playing PC Brawlhalla is a lot of them actually just, completely quit playing, and that's what happened. Some pro players actually emerged from the Xbox scene because they were, just tired of PC players beating them because PC has all the upsides. Everyone on console no longer even peaks this high. It's just not really possible anymore. The scene's basically dead, I would say, for both sides, Xbox and PlayStation, and there's just no real challengers there anymore. Power creep. This refers to the change in art style and creativity with every new legend coming out compared to the old ones in the game. Someone like Nash versus Loki is absolutely night and day. You can tell the difference. Nash has an extremely boring kit and a super non-flashy moveset, while Loki has super intricate moves and extremely flashy and bright sigs. This basically just means every legend moving forward, if this trend actually continues, will make the game and make the early game legends worse and worse just by the demand of creativity and the more money they're putting in to make these characters. Combo Codex. This refers to a website that is updated every single patch that allows people to post their own team combos and have it be verified for people to study and practice. This is for 2s players essentially, where you can just see every single team combo in the game and have, your own be uploaded if you want for others to see. You can select certain legends that you want with their own specific weapons and just see if anyone has posted a certain combo with that exact legend and weapon combo together. It's really, really interesting. It's great for 2s practice because it basically just shows you guys what's possible for your, 2 good legends that you guys like using in 2s. And yeah, it's just extremely helpful. Deck spot. Now this video is supposed to be educational and informative, so I do have to cover this, even though I really don't want to because I don't want to give it any more light than it has. But this is a type of cheat known in Brawlhalla. Whenever you're in range or whenever your weapon is throwing out an attack, the deck spot or the person cheating will dodge and punish you frame perfect no matter what. You are playing a match you will never win. People have found ways to, kind of bait this thing out and use those couple seconds of a cooldown on dodge to hit them, but ultimately it doesn't ever work because DexBot is forever growing and getting stronger every single day. There now is a current cheat that is AI powered. I have footage of these. Anyone watching that's a part of Brawlhalla or anyone in the community, I do not have these installed on my computer. I don't. I got footage from these from certain sources that I'm not going to announce, but I got footage of people using them so you guys can see what it actually looks like on the cheater side and what it looks like in game. I think it's extremely cringe, but yeah, this is just an easy way to say goodbye to your account if you use this because Brawlhalla is actively hunting these people down. It's just really sad. Trash prize pool. Now that is charged language, and I don't really, I'm not trying to be ungrateful. That is just what it is in the Iceberg. I would say it's inadequate to what it used to be prize pool money. But prize pools this year are now down in the dumps compared to what they were. A lot of people can't make a living off the game, which I don't think you should anyway, but I digress. But people call it Sandstorm earnings, and those are not possible nowadays because Sandstorm has made so much money off the game just playing a free-to-play, platform fighter Brawlhalla. You can't make Sandstorm earnings playing the game anymore. Just playing competitively is not enough, which is why a lot of pro players resort to sponsorships, coaching, content on YouTube and Twitch. It's how they make a living. But yeah, and I also think it kind of results from how a lot of tournaments stretch out earnings. There are people in 50th place getting almost $100, which I think is really, really weird. I don't think anyone past maybe 20th or 25th place should make any money because it just stretches out the pot even further. So the pool is a lot worse at the top than it would be, oh, you're in 50th place, you basically participated, here's $100. There are a bunch of instances though on Twitter and a lot of people's reports that they will travel to these events just to actually lose money because the plane ticket was more than what they earned even if they placed high, which I find incredibly, discouraging, which is why a lot of people say the pro scene's dead, but I digress. Elo boosting. Elo boosting is a service you can buy online via eBay and Etsy where you can basically just pay someone to carry you to your rank by hopping on your account or playing 2s with you and carry you to whatever rank you wanted. Obviously you have to pay money for this, but again, if you see a 2s team where the second one is just way worse than the other one, then you obviously know what's up. They're most likely getting boosted. Now, there is solo elo boosting. There is stuff I can't cover, but surface level, if you play on a competitive server such as EU or NAW or NAE, where it has a lot of, people, a lot of volume of people there, so you get, a good amount of challenge, you can hop to a server that has low comp, like Japan, and basically just farm elo there because the players are way worse. And if you're playing overseas, the Wi-Fi for them is way worse, so if you can manage through the lag, you basically just get free elo if you switch servers. And a lot of people have been accused of this on leaderboards. If you go check, Brawlhalla, a lot of people you can see definitely do this. If you play too many matches on Japan or other things, you will get sanctified in that region as you being the top. So if you just play enough to boost yourself enough up and then switch back, you retain the original server you were on, like EU or NAE or NAW, and you get all that free low, you just farmed in Japan. It's really cringe, really corny. I don't really advise it, but it's a thing that exists. Connor_88. This person is extremely unhinged, and I advise not communicating with them or interacting with them wherever you still find them, wherever they're still laying. This person's sole mission for the community was to be toxic after every single game. There are multiple reports of people screenshotting what he said to them that is absolutely not okay to say to someone. When chat was post-game and not just in customs, this guy was doing everything he could to say something extremely rude and or toxic after every single game, no matter what happened. He would win and he would say something rude. He would lose, say something rude. He would do the most just for attention. And he voiced his opinion so much that he actually got personally chat banned by Brawlhalla because of so many people reporting him. He then saw, the chat ban and voiced his opinion on that chat ban on Twitter and other places, even saying he wanted to kill the devs of the game. He later got his account permabanned, but that of course never stopped him. He made more and he just kept his regime up. Now, of course, this guy gets banned regularly and a lot of people report his account when they see him, but he still definitely exists for the game and he's in the community as we speak now. Banned players. BMG has public bans on players from ever going to in-person events and or competitively competing for the game ever again as a whole. Now, of course, they have lifted some of these over the years, but they definitely have left a stain on the community and set an example out of these people. Dark Ghoul and Hardy MJ are the most notable bans, so I will go over them, but more figures in the community have definitely been banned. Let's start with Dark Ghoul though. Dark Ghoul was banned because another pro player named Snowy said he felt unsafe if Dark Ghoul went to the next LAN, because online, Dark Ghoul told Snowy that he will, and I quote, hug him, in a very serious tone, which one can indicate him trying to dodge whatever chat TOS he's on, whether that's a stream or a YouTube, and by actually meaning he was going to harm him.
Real life. Like I said, you a real life. Don't,
But Snowy, you coming to BCH?
Yeah, he coming.
I'm gonna give you a good hug.
Can't wait to hug you.
Wait to hug.
You soft as you been soft since 2018, bro. Shut the fuck up, Snow. Don't act like you innocent. Let me back in Remy Discord so I can show them the messages. Are you friend or foe? Shut the. I don't like that. Are you big?
I know your face turning red right
Your ass like a rat in the.
This stirred up the community pretty bad, and a lot believed the ban to actually be racist, saying if a white guy said this, nothing would have been done. There are some people I've seen in the community say some pretty heinous things that I can't repeat on YouTube, so I can see why people think this. And it is now also used as a zinger in the community. A lot of people say, oh, you banned someone because they said they wanted to hug someone, but you won't do something about X. Now, I think that's actually pretty funny because there are some people in the community that are really, really, really weird and aren't looked at or taken serious enough by any of the devs or anyone on social media teams. So I honestly think that, the zinger is actually kind of funny. Now, for Hardy MJ, he changed his pronouns on social media to GS/God or GSGod/GSGoat back when Greatsword was, in its prime. I think this is just really corny. He's basically just mocking neo pronouns or not using them correctly at all, and a lot of people took notice of this, saying it was insensitive and rude. I think that's the truth, and I don't care if you argue with me there. That's just really childish, and that's just the truth. He also has a tweet thread I'm going to put up on the screen that I find extremely edgy and weird, but again, I can't say for sure this is what got him canned. I'm just pretty sure it was the mocking the neo pronouns thing. All brawl players are weirdos. Now, of course, this is a logical fallacy, this is a hasty generalization, but I think this just refers to the point that a lot of the controversy that happens within the Brawlhalla community is people playing Brawlhalla and being really, really weird. A lot of people who devote their time to Brawlhalla lose out on the social interaction that they need, and putting in hours, just by putting in hours of work just to compete, a lot of them start to lose the, grip on society that they once had before Brawlhalla, which then makes them turn into things that are obviously against TOS and stuff that's just pretty disgusting. You can honestly, I would say, assume that if someone gets in a controversy that's a Brawlhalla prominent figure, they're more than likely a pedophile or a racist. It's just as simple as that. Those are the two easy, things you can assume because of how often it happens in the community. I think it's pretty sick, and I think a lot of people need to do check-ins with each other. This is just a mental health type of thing that people just need to be aware of, because more than likely the person you're talking to in the scene has done some pretty weird things, which again is pretty unfortunate. Collectors. This refers to people who collect avatar skins and certain cosmetic items that are extremely rare and are very, very valuable. Certain prominent figures in the scene have done some pretty chilling things to get these items. I've heard from certain sources of certain people that I obviously can't say on YouTube because of TOS, but just know that some of the people you look up to have done some very questionable things for some of these items. There's pro titles, which is just when you win a tournament or win something, you get a certain one-of-one title. Legend Series avatar, Max Mode avatar, Astro avatar, esports avatars. Those are some of the items that people will do these crazy things for. Obviously, again, I can't say what they did because it will get me banned, but yeah, some pretty disturbing things for such rare and valuable items. And obviously these things go for over $500, $400. I've seen, people make some certain decisions and certain comments over them, but yeah, it's pretty crazy. Balloon Mid. This is lost media. I don't really think I have this on file, and I definitely don't have this from any of my sources that have been helping me make this video. But this is a lost media piece by Darwin, who I've mentioned earlier in the list, and I Hate Pros. This is a diss track on Balloon Boy, who is a pro player in the scene right now, and a lot of people claim it is really good. And it was basically just a funny joke around the scene and a poke at type of thing that a lot of people reference because of how much effort these two guys put in a diss track on another pro player in Brawlhalla. I don't really, I wasn't there, so I can't say of how great it was, but yeah, it definitely existed, and it's just kind of crazy. People were dissing each other over, a platform fighter. Group posts. This just refers to the Xbox and PlayStation scene where a lot of the people from there, where they got their egos from, basically, in these forums, in these community tabs on these consoles, you would basically call each other out and, oh, wager me here or play here, I'm better than you here, I'm the best at blank, and it was just a big type of, it was their own little fight club, their own abortion clinic, but I think it's just really interesting that console had their own type of version of this. A lot of people got, their careers starting out from just calling out people in the comm, which I think is pretty interesting. And yeah, it's basically just it. Old abortion clinic. A couple of years ago, there was an underground Discord server where a lot of the most egotistical competitive Brawlhalla players would go and fight each other for money. And I know this sounds a little crazy, it doesn't sound real, especially for something like Brawlhalla, but it definitely did exist. I've seen firsthand proof, and I'm going to show a lot of it that I can here today. Some stuff I have to keep on, underground, under wraps, but I can show a lot of stuff here today, so please stay tuned, stay with me here. This was a fight club, essentially. These guys, even during weekdays, would stay up and play each other for hours on end against each other, setting up matches for money. The main owner was the middleman for all operations in this server and circulated thousands of dollars weekly just for Brawlhalla money matches. They would talk shit in calls and in chat and put money where their mouths were. It was the ultimate testament of skill. There was absolutely no reason to duck fights here because if you did, you were almost exiled. The server was not moderated at all, so you can just imagine some of the stuff people were saying in here, and it drew out some of the biggest egos I've ever seen in my entire life. There was almost a no snitching, like psychological hysteria contract with everyone, so a lot of the stuff I don't agree with obviously was said in these calls and in these chats, but besides that, and besides the degeneracy, I think this is an extremely historical and important thing in the community. This is a prime example of the competitive hunger that a lot of these fighting games call for that isn't answered. Pro players, content makers, community figures, and a lot of people got their foundation from this server, and some even later to be poster boys for the game. BMG even knew of the existence of this server and obviously looked down upon it, and a lot of people garnered a sort of title in community groups and in the public space, basically just, looking down on them because, oh, that's an abortion clinic, and I can't say, other words because people would fill in the blank there. I actually met with the owner. I got a chance to interview the guy and some other people in the scene and conducted an interview, so of course, please enjoy.
Well, my gamer tag that most people know me by is WCJH. I owned a Brawlhalla server named Abortion Clinic. Me and my friends created it a long time ago before I even was really into Brawlhalla. And yeah, I got really into Brawlhalla, and then all of my Brawlhalla friends joined it, and then it turned into something pretty crazy, and then pretty much everybody joined it. Well, it wasn't necessarily that all of the top people were going. I mean, it kind of was like a little bit of like hearsay kind of thing, like if you know, kind of a little bit, but it wasn't necessarily, it wasn't like super secretive or anything.
Okay.
A certain kind of people were going in the servers, and it was looked upon by the rest of the community in a certain kind of way, I guess.
Okay. And can you go a little bit more into that, or was that touchy?
Well, it was stigmatized, like it was looked down upon very poorly. Abortion clinic, because free speech. We didn't really we didn't ban the N-word, we didn't ban F slurs, like any sort of offensive, pretty much anything. We were very, very against muting or banning in general, and there was a lot of annoyingness that was a cause of that. Like there would be some annoying people that didn't get muted, but that was kind of the beauty of it, is that anybody could go in there and do or say anything they wanted, and it was like no one gave a fuck about TOS, anything like that. It was just it was money matches and shit talking. And well, the ending was just, it was just me getting a life and just not being in the servers active every day.
Yeah, okay.
It was, the downfall was exactly as I predicted. I always said this. It was always a thing, because some people would just dick ride for no reason, Jarvis, but they basically just be like, oh, abortion clinic's dying, abortion fell off, and people like that would, and it's not just him, but people like that would say that about every server they're in, just haters. And freaking, I would always rebuttal. I always say, like, abortion clinic's gonna die when I just stop joining, when me and all my friends stop hanging out in here. It's gonna die. And then I got a life, I got a job, I got priorities, and then now it's dead.
So the happy ending for you, essentially. You got out with the good ending.
Yeah, happy ending for me. And my Cash App got banned too. That was a big part of it. One of the I probably should mention this. This is an important part. I was like a extremely super trusted figure in the Brawlhalla community in money matches. I was the middleman. We're talking, and this isn't money that I profited. This is money that I moved. Like,
this is allocating
money. Yeah, right. But it all moved through me, which got flagged and got my account eventually removed for gambling. But we're talking around. This might sound crazy for Brawlhalla, but around like 15,000 moved in like 6 months, and that was like the flag of.
Oh my god.
The prime, I mean, it always just starts out with a couple people joining the VC and then trash talking each other, and then it always gets to money matches. And then a prime, I mean, is really any weekday. It was at one point, but definitely the weekend. The weekends were always popping, but I mean, we're talking like 15 to 25 people in the VCs, sometimes like separated into more people than that.
Good lord.
I mean, sometimes, people streaming it. I mean, I could probably find some screenshots of like 30, 35 people in the VCs in abortion. I mean, the chat's always pop in like multiple. The real peak is like when multiple money matches are going on at the same time, and like we can't even all watch one at a time because there's multiple stuff going on.
That's just the best feeling right there.
Yeah, that was really cool. Yeah,
It's like going to a sports bar and you don't know what game to fucking watch. That's awesome.
yeah, exactly.
That's fucking
Yeah.
awesome. Getting a, and I quote, title. This is a phrase that is commonly known in the pro scene that is referencing getting a pro placement that gives you a title in-game to follow. These are one of ones and sometimes two of twos, obviously, if you have a partner, that go to these special accounts that did really well in the esports scene that you really can't give to anyone else, and they're extremely rare to get. A lot of collectors often ask pro players to buy these titles off of them after they win. Many of them say no, obviously, because this is like your trophy in-game. But these are extremely rare, and these are almost like your racing stripes, but for a Brawlhalla Pro player. XP botting. There is an entry later that I talk more about XP botting because someone abuses it, but XP botting is simply just an AHK or a script that plays in the game for you and lets you farm XP in custom games, because you do get XP and gold for playing in custom games. And these people will run these scripts and these AHKs while they're away from their setup to grind this gold and XP. If you have a level 100 legend, you have to have devoted at least 400 hours of your time. It's either 300 to 400 hours of your time simply playing that legend alone just to get them level 100. If you see someone with multiple level 100 legends, or they have, you know, all this millions of gold, they are more than likely XP botting. If you see someone with a bunch of hours on Brawlhalla, yet they're horrible at the game, and I'm talking a bunch of hours on Brawlhalla, they're more than likely XP botting. And this is a bannable offense. You shouldn't do this, and I do not condone XP botting. TTV Jarvis 7327. Now, I have no idea who this guy is. I only know about his existence and who he is and what he's done from other outside sources and other people giving me firsthand accounts with him. But apparently he's just a huge jester. Like, I don't really know what else to call him. He's just a clown. He's a dude from Chicago. He's an Xbox player who is just extremely interesting in the Xbox scene. A lot of pros apparently know him, and he's quite literally just a jester. I don't know. A lot of people know him. I don't really know him too well. He's just on the iceberg, so I'm covering it. Apparently, he's just extremely interesting, and if you talk to him, he's like devoted his life to Brawlhalla and like devoted all of his time to Brawlhalla. And obviously, I don't know him, so I'm not going to say anything rude or anything like that. And I know calling him jester is kind of rude, but he's just really devoted to Brawlhalla, and if you interact with him at all, I'm sure you'll figure it out pretty soon. TL method. To preface, this is patched, and I absolutely do not condone this behavior or anything about this. I'm going to be saying I don't condone this a lot going further because we're going to start getting into the worst things, and this is, you know, obviously the start of them. But I absolutely do not condone this. But what the TL method is, or was, is you can get someone's credit card information from Turkey, the country, on your Steam to swap the prices and currency in Brawlhalla. So Brawlhalla Mammoth coins became insanely cheap. Now, you can get these credit card informations through a web browser called Tor by going on the black market or the dark web. I'm obviously never going to go any further than that because I do not condone anything like that, but that is where a lot of them got it. People would get it through Telegram and Tor. That's all of what I was told and what I researched. I obviously do not condone, you know, interacting with any of that stuff online, but this is obviously educational, so I do have to mention it. Feds. Now, I don't really know too much about Feds, and I hate having two entries back-to-back that I don't really know about, but Feds was a rebirth of Abortion Clinic, essentially. It was a clan. It is a clan on Brawlhalla, and it is a Discord server that is basically just trying to do exactly what Abortion Clinic did with all the money matching and fights, and from what I know is that you have to have an ELO requirement to get in, and once you get in, it's essentially a fighting club. I don't have any other sources to get information about Feds. I don't know really anything about it. It's kind of mysterious to me at this point, but I think it's dead now. I could be incorrect on that. I'm just going to ballpark it and say that it is because I've never heard anything about it, and the stuff I heard about Abortion Clinic was 1,000 times more interesting than Feds. But yeah, it was just a cheap clone, I guess, a rebirth of Abortion Clinic, an attempt at that, I guess. Bad optimization. This is the main insult from the community towards Brawlhalla and whatever they're doing. It can be a social media post, advertising a new legend, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. A Twitch stream, anything, a tweet. The first insult in every comment and every comment section by Brawlhalla is fix the game, fix the servers, fix the code. Bad optimization is all those wrapped in one. The game servers and code are spaghetti. There is a bunch of back-end issues that haven't been fixed in a long time, and there aren't a lot of people that can fix them. And a lot of people have lost hope because of that. No matter how strong your PC is, the game will still find a way to fail. Lock Robster. Now, this entry is pretty short, but this is the most prolific botter of all time in the scene. This is not a real human putting in these hours. They have almost level 100 on almost every single legend in the game, which is not humanly possible because, again, referencing the XP botting that we talked about earlier, all they do is XP bot. I think this is really cringe. I don't know who this is. I don't know much about them, but yeah, they're just the most prolific botter of all time. X Resolver. To start it off, I do not condone any of the behavior in this entry at all, but I am saying it for educational purposes, so please understand. X Resolver is an IP logger for anyone on Xbox. This was used a lot back in the day, and currently now for more than just Brawlhalla on the Xbox. Octosniffer is normally ran right beside it. That is a sidebar program that grabs the IPs of the people you're playing with and connected to and sends them to X Resolver, which then allows you to boot them. There is a PSN counterpart that I've been told that is made by Dark Ghoul, which I don't even know if it's true because I couldn't find any research on this, but the people I talked to said that he has made a PSN version of this, which is a PlayStation version of this. I don't know how sound that is or how much that, actually exists, but this is definitely a thing. There are booters on console as long as there is booters on PC. Everyone knows that. I think it's disgusting, but they definitely exist for Brawlhalla, and people do it in game. I've been booted before. Stream.me fish. This is the rarest avatar in the game. This entry is extremely short because this is really all it is. I haven't even seen listings for this avatar because of how rare it is and how many few people have it, but it is the rarest avatar in the game, and if you have it, you are extremely lucky. Skill does not transfer. Now, of course, there is an example to this that I would say is a countermeasurement for this claim, but a lot of it is true. Skill does not transfer. Good players or pro players will leave Brawlhalla in frustration or leave Brawlhalla because the game's dead or they're not placing high enough and assume that their skills are going to transfer over to other games. A lot of them fail. The only example I can think of off the top of my head is Sandstorm playing Rivals of Aether 2 and performing really well. But other than that, everyone else who has left that is a pro from Brawlhalla to go to other fighting games has fallen tremendously off of the esports scene completely. Low IQ. Again, another hasty generalization. This is a logical fallacy over the entire community, but I'm just going to go over it anyway because it's on the iceberg and I want to stay true to it. A lot of people in the pro scene have an extreme lack of IQ and EQ. There's a lack of self-care and basic hygiene, as well as a basic use of language and writing skills. There is a huge subpar level of people that have the ability to play Brawlhalla. Now, I don't know what that means for everyone else, but from what I've heard is that a lot of people don't take care of themselves while playing this game. And I think it's because of the amount of hours they have to spend to actually get good at this game. If you've seen the average pros amount of games in a ranked season, or the amount of hours they spend training for a competition, it is actually obscene. It is almost like they don't even get to see their family or talk to them every single day. Now, I think that's where the low IQ claim comes from, but through the Reddit threads that I've been through and the Discord servers I have looked in, I would say that this is probably true. There is a lot of lack of IQ and lack of EQ in these people, and I don't want to say that because that is really rude, but this is just the entry. Xbox DDoSing. Again, I don't condone anything or any behavior in this entry at all, same as the X Resolver entry we talked about earlier, but the X Resolver ties into this. People DDoS Xbox a bunch. It is a huge bad plague on this game, and your IP is at risk for basically just playing the game at all. Even if you don't take it seriously, you don't stream, you don't play for money or anything like that. If you play casually, your IP is at risk just by playing, because there is such little protection on Xbox from people grabbing your IP. There's also so many booters in the game on console that it is not possible or safe playing at a high elo because you're risking just losing it all because someone's cheating. Figures in the space unfortunately actually do this. I've had reports and stuff that I can't even say publicly of people in the pro scene booting people just to post high elos on Twitter. That's so corny. I don't even know what to say here. Schwarpy. This one hits home because this is, who I watched coming into the scene. This was my YouTuber that I loved watching. He gave me a lot of inspiration, and I'm not going to lie, I still steal a little bit of sauce off of him here and there, even though I guess it's technically not good to now, but I'm going to admit it. I steal some of his swag sometimes. Shorpy was the original poster boy for Brawlhalla. He was the OG poster boy, and that's without a doubt. I mean, you could say Sandstorm and whatnot, but I think it's Shorpy. He made so much content on YouTube that he pioneered the scene. The entire YouTube scene he pioneered. He created the sauce and everyone dipped in it. Like, he's just the OG. He was in dev streams, he was talked about by pros, he hung out with pros, he did collabs with content creators, devs, pros, everything. He was everywhere all at once, and he pulled so much organic growth for the game. He had web series that did absolutely just crazy numbers. No matter what he was posting, it was going crazy. Everyone was watching. Everyone knew who this guy was, and that was just, at the time, that was what was accepted as the best YouTuber for the scene. And he was just so cherished. So when this document came out on Twitter, people were heartbroken. A lot of people were just like, there's no way he could have done this. And this document that I'm talking about, like, oh my God, it's undefendable. The screenshots, the screen recordings, everything is just absolutely disgusting. Shorpy was accused of grooming a minor, and the proof that was shown is absolutely undeniable. You would lose in court, you would lose in anything, you would lose in a civil case, online debate, it doesn't matter, you would lose. The stuff in the document is ridiculous. If you want to look at it for yourself, just type it in Google, you'll find it first link. Obviously, this is all posted by the victim, and I'm upset, obviously, right, because Shorpy's who I, grew up watching, but this isn't my sadness to have, this is someone else's sadness to have. I've obviously grown past it. I don't think about it anymore. I still think it's disgusting. Obviously, condemn this 100%. It's disgusting, and I don't feel bad for Shorpy in any sort of way, and I hope no one else does either. I see some copers from here and there talk about it, but it's obviously just disgusting and sad. But again, this isn't my sadness to have. This is someone else's, and yeah, that's all for Shorpy. Snowy. Now, I would be lying if I said that this was my first version of this take and I didn't have to go back and, change anything because I got something wrong when doing extra, layers of research or anything like that. This is actually like my fourth version of this entry because I've come to different conclusions every single time. I have now read both Google Docs from both sides. I've sat there, thought about it, layered evidence together, and I've finally come to a conclusion that I think I'm happy with. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Snowy is a pro player who's won a Winter 2022 championship and a 2v2 world championship before, so he has some street credit as a pro player. He has some other accolades here and there, but they're mostly mediocre. He is a pro player for the Brawlhalla scene, and he was even posterized a lot by the community and all the social media teams. Now, why he's in here is because this year he was accused of some pretty horrible things. Now, I've heard whispers through, the grapevine that you are not allowed to talk about what was going on exactly in the exact things that he was accused of on YouTube, or it will get taken down. So, I'm not going to risk my chances with a 2-hour video that I have taken 3 weeks to make. So, think back of what I said at the very start of the video, and think about the subjects I warned you about, okay? Pick a couple out of there, and that's what we're kind of, some of those. So, not great. We're not looking good so far at all, completely. But what I can say, my opinion on this and what's actually going on, is that both of these people, his ex-girlfriend and his ex-girlfriend is the one accusing him of these things, are not mentally well. Both of these people are not great mentally, and it's shown, and it's honestly admitted through both Google Docs. Both of them admit to some sort of level of degeneracy and some sort of level of, implacency with how they are in their own life. Snowy was accused of being, at BCX, and he doing some pretty horrible things to this woman, and then the woman, obviously going online saying that, oh, he did this to me and I didn't want it. So that's the bare bones TLDR. I'm not trying to paint either party in a negative light. That is literally what happened. And I'm saying woman because I don't know how to say her name. I'm really bad with actually just translating straight English names over. It's Chandra. It's Chandra. Sorry, I had a blank right there. I don't know if it's Sandra. I don't know. I don't care either. So it doesn't matter. But Yeah, it's not great. The situation's not great, and originally my stance was that, oh, Snowy bad, ex-girlfriend good, because a lot of these times it's never the other way around. But now I've read Snowy's Google Doc, which I encourage you to go do your own research on this one. If you're looking for a verdict, I'm not giving you one, just by the way. I'm just going to tell you what's going on. And I think that Snowy cleared up a lot of dead space, showed a lot of proof. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, how do you confirm the Shorpy thing, but not Snowy? Shorpy never fought back. Shorpy actually kind of self-admitted to doing what he did, so this is different than the Shorpy thing. So I don't even want to hear that comment. But yeah, it's not looking good for Snowy. I think that the Google Doc that he put out cleared up a lot of stuff, but both of these people are just not mentally well, and I hope that both of them get the help that they need, whether they seek it through therapy or family or friends. I genuinely hope that both of these people go on to better paths in their lives, being away from each other, because it seems like when they were together, not good news, not a good pair for the world to make. And degeneracy shines brighter than the most beautiful diamond that you could find. So that's basically all I can say for this one, in fear of TOS. 500 hertz. This refers to the fact that the more hertz you have on Brawlhalla is the less input delay you have. So if you have a monitor that can go up to 500 hertz, you are technically having an indirect buff to your game. You have the extreme definition of something called a hardware buff. Pro players and people at the top of the scene buy monitors that have extremely high hertz simply because of this reason. Sora. I don't know if this is an entity or a conglomerate of people, but what I've been told is that it is a group of people playing on one account. Sora was an account that was in the 3K elo range at the time when 3K was extremely difficult to get into. It still technically is, but it's not legit because it's not one person. A bunch of pro players have been reportedly paying this person to play on that high skill tier of elo, and they all took turns playing on 3K elo and what it was like and who they were getting matched against. These are some of the hardest matches you can get in the game, so this is some of the best practice these pro players can get. It was an amalgamation of different people all playing on one account at the highest elo, basically taking turns playing with the hardest opponents. 5-finger Mandela. For a long time, the community believed that all of the models and characters for the game had 5 fingers, just like you and me. Some of us have 6, but most of us have 5. In all reality, they all have had 4 forever, making a certain uncanny valley looking at them now, especially when you go into any sort of image render and you look at the characters and you look at their hands. It looks pretty weird knowing that they have 4 now. Overclocking. Overclocking was a thing you can do to your controller to make your inputs smoother and faster, essentially. And last year's BCX 2024, banned overclocking, which made the entire controller scene essentially worse in an instant. And they did this about a month out. Some people say a week, but what I've read, it was a month out, which gave a lot of the controller players bad placements because they were no longer having that thing that they played on all the time. People were training for, months and months and months with overclocking on their controller, and right when the competition starts, BCX says, hey guys, can't do that anymore, which upset a bunch of people. Special K. Special K is an optimizer / shader for Brawlhalla that would turn off your VSync and give you frame fix and unbound your frames on Steam. People who use this were at an extreme advantage because, like I've mentioned multiple times already in the Iceberg, if you have more frames, you have less input delay, which is an advantage. So, a lot of people were questioning if this was even a cheat. To me, this sounds like a cheat. If you can do it in Steam, it doesn't sound like a cheat, but this is an outside program, so I don't really know where I should stand on this one. But yeah, it's pretty controversial because a lot of people, call this a crutch for some people. I don't really know what to call it because it's not really prevalent nowadays because you can do a lot of the stuff in Steam now. And the game's come far enough that where you don't really need the optimization / shader. But I digress. Leaderboard bans. A lot of people are leaderboard banned because they switch regions and farm elo on less comp servers. I talked about this in a previous entry on the Iceberg, but if you go to a different server and you farm elo there and it's less comp like Japan and you're supposed to be USE, you will get banned because if you swap back over, they're going to detect a sharp increase in elo in a region that you aren't previously native in. So, Brawlhalla has obvious means of finding this out and figuring this out. They will ban you off of the leaderboards, meaning you won't get your #1 picture for Twitter, and you won't be able to be up there with all the actual pros who play in their actual region they're supposed to be in. Unknown demons. These are just randoms who are really good at the game that aren't in the scene or the community at all and just play the game for fun. I have a couple examples. People named Swifty, Rayman God, and Save Japan are extreme examples of these people. If you go to Brawlhalla and you see a bunch of names on there that you don't recognize and you can't find anything about, they're more than likely classified as unknown demons. These are just extreme sleeper people who just don't play any, sort of social aspect of the game at all and are only, in it for the fun and just play the game by themselves. These are those people. Renix. This entry is pretty short, but it is very interesting. I do know what actually happened and how they got access to this character, but I can't say that publicly for multiple reasons, but I want you guys to use your imagination on this one on how they got it. But this person went onto a dev stream playing an unreleased character. The unreleased character at the time was Imugi, who we now have in the game already. But Imugi wasn't out when they were playing it, so Renix had access to Imugi somehow and went into the dev stream and played it. The devs saw it, obviously was like, what is going on, and then later covered the entire situation up. People speculate how this even happened to begin with, because how does someone who is not a part of the dev team have access to an unreleased character? I'm gonna let you guys use your own imagination there. I can't really say much else on that, but yeah, that's the whole point of this entry. Jump mod. Now this is a cheat / modification to the game, so I do not condone this behavior in any way, shape, or form, but what this was the ability to see the jump count of your opponent at all times back then. A lot of pros were running it due to how helpful it was and how easy it was to learn matchups and interactions by being able to count at what jump they were on. The owners, through controversy and probably a claim of Brawlhalla themselves, took the entire thing down. This also sparked the entry of teardrops, the mechanic in the game that we have now that everyone can see, and was one of the main reasons for the implementation of an anti-cheat for Brawlhalla. Doxing. Now, I absolutely do not condone anything in this entry. I've said it a million times, but I really mean it with this one. Doxing is extremely weak-minded and ignorant, but I just need to say it for education purposes because it has, stained our community in some sort of way. There is a known doxer in this community. They go by the name of Gosha. If you know who Punisher is in the Marvel universe, Frank Castle, that is who Gosha is. Gosha has doxed Dark Nova to the core. I have seen information on Dark Nova in certain corners of the internet that there's no way you even got that information. Like, I couldn't even imagine how he got the information he has on this guy. He has just the most insane details on Dark Nova, who was previously mentioned in this iceberg, that it's ridiculous. It's scary almost. This guy, Gosha, has a doxpin, public, online, that you can find that holds people's information that you can just go see for funsies. Like, oh, all your, your phone numbers, addresses, yeah, here, all on the internet for fun. I extremely advise interacting with this person because I don't know what this guy's capable of, and to be honest, I don't want to figure it out. This is extremely odd behavior in my opinion. I think doxing's, really weird, but it is a part of our community and a lot of people do it, especially if you have bad run-ins with them. And I'm assuming that's what happened between Gosha and Dark Nova. Dro. Dro is a controversial user who hit 3,000 elo, and you're maybe thinking, why is that controversial? 3,000 elo is not a joke. People who hit this elo are pros at the game or have absolutely no life. So when a normal person who hits this elo hits it, people are going to get suspicious. So people took a long hard look at his stats and his tracking and couldn't come to a clear conclusion. So a lot of people accused him of using DexBot. It was later found out that he was banned and taken off of leaderboards. Apparently, they were using DexBot the entire time. Rigged tourney matches. A lot of players in the community think some of the tourneys or matches have felt somewhat rigged or fixed. Some people in the pro scene would even purposely lose through winners just to drop down through losers to have an easier route up to the finals. Now, that has been proven true in some cases, but has also been proven false. I don't know how valid this claim is or, how many people actually think this, but in my opinion, I would say it's almost 50-50. I don't think anything is rigged in my opinion, but it is on the iceberg, so of course I'm going to cover it. And seeding sometimes seems a little interesting with some players who are looked negatively in the public sphere get placed against someone who's top one in every single region almost every single time. Just to get them out of the tournament quicker. Now, I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I love you, Brawlhalla, BMG, but a lot of people complain about it, and it's worth noting. Pros influence bounce patches. Now, this isn't just a Brawlhalla thing. This is pretty much everywhere else in every other gaming sphere, but placing high in tournaments or pro players who complain online to BMG or just online at all BMG actually tends to listen to them more than normal players. If the normal player complains about Lance for the 400th time, saying it's broken, when it's the worst weapon in the game right now, BMG just shrugs them off. But if someone like Radish or Money Holla, someone like that, you know, I think boots are broken, or I think gauntlets are broken, BMG is going to look at them and be like, maybe you're right, because they're playing on an extreme caliber of level, of skill. They know the game more than the average person does, so maybe they are right. Now, I'm not going to say that this is what happens 24/7, but there are things that I've seen in balance patches that are absolutely crazy and have definitely came out of pros' mouths. I'm not going to out anybody or send shots anywhere, but you know who you are if you see this video. But yeah, this is a common notion a lot of people bring up. Howdy Partner. This is a title in the game that was given to content creators for the sole purpose of giving back to their fan bases. A lot of creators saw this and were like, we have a rare title in our hands. We're not just going to give this out. We should sell this. And a lot of them did that. A bunch of content creators did this, and some pros did this. They went on to third-party websites and sold the Howdy Partner title for large amounts of money. So if you see someone in-game with this title, they're either someone who actually received it through their content creator doing giveaways, which is extremely rare, or they're a content creator themselves, or a pro, and redeemed it for themselves, or they paid a large amount of money for it. Infinite Mammoth Coins. Now, no, this isn't one of those scams you see on YouTube or an ad where it's like, oh, put in all your personal information and we'll send you Mammoth Coins. No, not one of those. This is an actual cheat engine. It's a program that gives your account infinite Mammoth Coins. This is a real thing. I've seen it. I obviously cannot show it to you or I will get in trouble, so I can't show you any proof of this. But it's entirely client-side, so basically what it does is it puts Mammoth Coins into your account, and with the server, it's supposed to check if you've paid for them, like it's a check and balance system, and for some reason on that server, that check isn't going through, and instead of that check, I guess it would be an X. That X isn't going through because of the engine, and it just allows you to spend all of these coins before, you know, that X or that check goes through on the other side, which then you've already bought everything you need to, so you need Mammoth Coins after that. I've had people show me it, so I don't really know how else to get you to believe me here, but this is a real thing. Obviously don't go looking for it. I don't condone anything about this, but it's a real thing in the game. The Pyramid. Now, I talk about this exact subject in another entry later, so you will be able to refer to it when you get there, but the Pyramid was a scamming scheme. Scamming in money matches had a huge insurgence within the scene that sponsors and even pros were scamming people out of money daily. Purposely throwing matches to get a split of the person's money was scamming, and that's what everyone did. So you would play a 2v2, the other person that you're with would put in their money towards the middleman, you would put in your money towards the middleman, the sponsors for those money matches would put in their money towards the middleman, and you would purposely throw, but you were actually friends with the sponsor or friends with the team that was supposed to win, and you would split and take that person's money that you threw on your side with. It was a huge scandal within the community that really hurt money matches' integrity, and that's why they're not really relevant anymore, because everyone scams. And this was all in 2024. Gold Random. This is a hacked client of Brawlhalla I'm showing you. I do not have access to this. I've never had access to this. I don't have this downloaded, and I have no way of getting into this. I have this footage through a source of mine where I screen recorded on Discord looking at a stream. It is the only way I was able to see this. And in this hacked client, everything is unlocked. Everything is level 100, and everything that's not even in the game is on this account. And with that, all legends are level 100. And so maybe you're thinking, what does that mean? Well, all of them have the gold title. And once you have everything level 100 and everything has the gold title, random also becomes gold. Now, this is not possible by normal means. You can't do this by any effort you put into the game, no matter what. It's not been done before, and it probably will never be done before. The only person who's close to this by cheating is the person we talked about earlier, Lock Robster. But the random icon, when you pick the random character, their name becomes gold. Now, I don't know if this will happen in the real client, but in the hacked client, this is active, which means we can assume that if you get level 100 on everyone, random is also gold. The Great Shift. As poetic as it sounds, this is a collapse. This was the end of the abortion clinic. This was the end of the money matching community. This was the end of the super hard ego competitive people. And this was the end to an entire conglomerate. Everyone started betraying each other, talking shit, friendships were broken, and everyone just started to disassociate. Even pro players turned away. They started to realize that, hey, these people are too chaotic and I can't associate myself with them or I'm going to get in trouble. And that's actually what happened for some people. Money matches completely stopped. The whole scamming thing with everyone in the scene, people scamming money matches for sponsors and everything, ruined it already. It tainted it. But after Abortion Clinic was gone and Fed's sorry attempt to replace it, money matches really don't exist anymore. And you'd be lucky if you weren't getting scammed. This was the great divide of the original scene of the game, and a lot of people that I've talked to personally have told me that they look back on it with great array. They think it's a great thing that happened, but it happened and it's not anymore, and it's not anymore for a reason. Protected players. Now, I'm going to talk about something extremely serious after this, so you can either choose to believe me or not, but I've seen actual proof, DMs, and everything that, again, unfortunately, I cannot show or I will get in trouble, but protected players is a VIP list of people who cannot be banned or canceled. This is deep level stuff that relates further, obviously, like I said, that I cover, and there are names on here that I'm aware of through sources, and I obviously cannot mention them or say who is protected on this list or what is on this list. For the safety of my career making stuff, I honestly am 100% sure this is true. The stuff I've seen and the digging I've done and the stuff I've come up upon that isn't even in this iceberg, I 100% believe this now, and no, I don't have a tinfoil hat on. There are people in the community who have ties to the devs, and that's just a fact, and these people are 100% protected. It's been shown in multiple community events. It's been shown in multiple altercations online. You can do your own research on this one. I'm not going to push this any further than it has to be. But yeah, there's just people who just absolutely will not be banned or canceled, and it's been shown time and time again. The Brawlhalla trials. Now, through my own firsthand research and through my sources showing me text message exchanges that lead to the existence of this place existing entirely, I'm pretty confident that this thing was real. This was a Discord server that either still exists now or existed a while ago, where the top figures in the community are all in it to chat. Now, by chatting, I mean putting each other on trial. This community has gone through hardship. A lot of the people in this community do some really weird things. This server's sole purpose was to put each other on trial for the horrible things they've done. And horrible, I mean criminal. Criminal things. A bunch of very well-known people in this community that you know right now off the top of your head were tried for a bunch of accounts and accusations that I cannot speak about on YouTube because it's against TOS. In the trial, you have someone either represent you or you represent yourself. If you are deemed by their jury to be telling the truth, then you can go on remaining in this community and living here. If you are deemed lying, you are banished and exiled from this entire community, and you might as well say goodbye to your career. People would make phone calls, people would write emails, and people would get stuff done to make sure that you make your leave. This is the end-all be-all for anyone being accused. You either fight or you disappear. The Cabal/Illuminati. While I was doing my research for this video, writing the script for this video, and looking at the original thread where this iceberg came from for this video, the same 3 questions rung through my head while looking at this entry. And other people in the thread asked the same 3 questions. Who is this? What is this? And why is this? And unfortunately, I don't have an answer for a single question. I don't know what this is, I don't know how deep this goes, but what I've been told by my sources and what I've been told from people asking around was to not ask again. What I've seen so far, what I've dug up that I can't even put in this video that I now know, I don't think I even want to know anymore. But the stuff I do know is that people claim that this is a secret organization that controls the inner workings of the Brawlhalla community. Now, while making this video, I didn't think this entry was real. Out of everything I've seen, researched, and have been told and shown proof of, this was the last thing that I thought was real. Now, everything else I've seen actual proof of, and I've seen, substantive claims that give me at least over 80% grade for me to believe it. This one, I haven't seen anything. All my sources immediately went quiet on me when I asked about it. I couldn't find anything myself. Everything was a dead end. Until around 2 a.m. the night before I finished the script, I got an anonymous DM on Twitter. It's on a burner account, and I go to open it, and it's one text message. And all it says is I advise not to upload the video. I have not told anyone about the creation of this video other than my hometown friends who don't have my online Twitter. And I've conducted, obvious talks with my sources about the video, but they helped me create this video. They put time and effort into telling me things for this video. They've dug up proof with me for this video. So why would they be trying to tell me not to upload it? So I don't think it's my hometown friends. I don't think it's anyone I know. And I'm pretty sure it's not any of my sources. So who knows I'm making this video? If you were still watching and still tuned in, you are now at the end of the video, and for that, I sincerely salute you. This is my longest video I've made on the entire channel, and it has taken me an extreme amount of time and effort to get this thing done. I originally had this video planned for October 31st, which was Halloween, because this video kind of gets a little scary, kind of gets a little mature, and I wanted to get away with making a Halloween video, but I knew that if I actually did finish it on Halloween, it would have been extremely rushed. I have sat here and gone through this video, the 2 hours and 35 minutes of it, back and forth, cleaning up, changing, remixing, remastering, everything about, any entry on any sort of level. I've changed audio EQs, everything. I have done so much effort to preserve this video to make sure it's a-okay for launch that I'm extremely drained. I don't even want to open YouTube for an entire week after posting this because I am ready for a break. I've been working on this for about 3 to 4 weeks. I have over 6,000 words of a script, over 12 pages in a Word document. I've done multiple interviews. I've stayed up late nights, even during midterms, to, gather data, research, screenshots, everything. I am extremely drained, but I think it was all worth it. Everything I've covered in here took a long time to do, and I think that's what makes it worth it to me. As I know that it was fun making, and I know that what I'm saying is truthful, and what I'm doing is performative, and that's all that really matters to me. Again, this video is not to bring down Brawlhalla or anyone in the community. That is not my intention. I'm not trying to assume things about people. I've done my research. The community has already judged you. I am just going to give the news on the verdict of the matter. A lot of people are forgetting that, and for some of the people that do know that I'm making this video, I've had some awkward kind of opinions on the creation of this thing that aren't related to anything on the iceberg, but for me, I think this video was a necessary make, in my opinion. The moment I saw this iceberg on Reddit, I was like, oh yeah, it's go time, 100%. This is an untapped, subculture for Brawlhalla, so I need to get into it because no one else is doing it, so I might as well. And again, no shots to, well, there are some shots in here, but if I don't directly mention you, don't take offense to anything I say in this video. I obviously do not want enemies, because I, want to remain cool with people in the community, but I'm covering stuff because it is part of the video. That is the subject matter. I'm covering, the drama, the news, everything. That's my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I get paid to do. But yeah, I just want to say thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing, commenting. Just please show love to this video. I have worked so hard for this to flop, so hopefully I make it out of this one alive. But yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for finishing the video, and I'll catch y'all in a little while. I just need to take a little break before I upload again.
Sometimes I get stuck inside my head, and I could give a fuck about what you said.